IHOP. As a youngster, I was led to believe that IHOP was an acronym for people in their twilight years, an international house for the most senior among us, like a communal watering hole for the life experienced, a place of momentary comfort, not without danger, straying from the pack, ill-advised. Trepidatious sip leaves an opening for predators, swift and decisive. A silver-tongued con artist has drained the life savings of those less cynical. This is, however, unlikely. As I found out later, IHOP stands for International House of Pancakes, which makes much more sense. It also apparently isn't a music genre portraying the violent street life of retirement communities. I was wrong on both counts. IHOP has always been known as a breakfast place, stacked high pancakes and seemingly infinite supply of buttery syrup. Breakfast, so the saying goes, is the most important meal of the day, so you'd see why this would be a good business model to pursue in 1958, when the first International House of Pancakes opened in Toluca Lake, Los Angeles. The founders were brothers Al and Jerry Lapin, along with early investors Al and Trudy Callis. The origin story doesn't come across as one of single-minded vision stemming from a discovery or lofty dream. Al Lapin, in particular, appears to have been more of an entrepreneur first and foremost, rather than a budding restaurateur. This slight difference is important and offers some potential lessons from a business point of view. The concept for International House of Pancakes was, like many entrepreneurial endeavors, one of opportunity. Restaurant chains of various varieties were springing up. Lapin and Co. wanted in on the action and chose to base a restaurant around breakfast, more specifically pancakes. The restaurant itself featured syrups with high-scoring Scrabble names, and never-ending coffee. The next few years saw the expansion to 3 pancake houses, a feat that the witch in Hansel and Gretel would be most proud of. While there might not be pancake crumbs leading back to a corporate head office, the fairy tale does have a child being overfed in a cage. But, to my knowledge, there are no cages in IHOP. They're called booths. The early restaurants featured an A-framed, blue-pitched roof and European chalet-style appearance. The Lapin thought looked homely and inviting. I finished with the Hansel and Gretel analogy for those still wondering. This design had the intention of drawing in families and was proving successful. But to really kickstart expansion, the Lapins decided to embrace the franchising model. Throughout the 60s, under Al Lapin's leadership, there was rapid expansion, not just in the number of restaurants, but also various other companies and related subsidiaries. This is not uncommon, and many chains look to control supply chains. What Lapin was doing, however, was moving very quickly, which usually means with debt, was acquiring various other food chains and brands such as Orange Julius and Wheelwright's ice cream parlors. But more importantly, he started venturing into other industries, like artists and engineering supplies, printing, secretarial schools, and a security company. The result was a rather broad-reaching conglomerate that was called International Industries. I'm not even sure how international any of this was at this point. By 1961, the company had gone public. Within 4 years of starting, there was 50 restaurants, and by the late 1960s, all these other businesses. When the 1970s came along, there was a recession. International House of Pancakes had been operating successfully and making a profit in general. The other businesses, however, were eating into that profit. The recession meant that the credit that had allowed acquisition and expansion was seriously affected. So much so that when the bank started to call in money, Lapin was essentially forced out. He sold his shares in IHOP, as it would be called from 1973, at a fraction of what they were worth previously. Lapin would go on to open other businesses, seemingly undeterred by this experience. Success again would follow, as did bankruptcy in 1989, a great lesson in entrepreneurship. Lapin clearly demonstrated the ability to spot a market opportunity and make it happen. The issue with starting any business is it's still an odds game. There are factors you can control, the factors you can't. Timing is everything. Lapin's bet on IHOP was right, and at the right time, but all those other businesses appear to have brought him down. IHOP would then move to a corporate bank ownership structure in 1976, reorganized by 21 banks and an insurance company that were creditors, and named IHOP Corp. The kind of feel-good name only a bank and an insurance company could think of. 3 years later saw an acquisition by Frederick Jan's Wienerwald Holding AG, a Munich-based restaurant conglomerate which would go bankrupt. IHOP Corp returned to American ownership in the late 1980s. In the late 2000s, IHOP Corp would buy Applebee's, and the parent company changed from IHOP Corp to Dine Equity Inc., and then later Dine Brands Global. The people in the IHOP universe are clearly not shy when it comes to changing names. Many will remember the whole IHOP incident. If you don't, it goes like this. As part of a marketing campaign, IHOP claimed it was changing its name from IHOP to IHOP, teasing what the B might stand for. Turns out it was burger, but it was merely a media prank to highlight IHOP's burgers and not just pancakes. People felt lied to. Internet people were betrayed. My criticism would be that it was a tad unoriginal. Pizza Hut did the same thing with its rebranding gag from Pizza Hut to Pasta Hut back in 2008, but it would be hard to argue that it wasn't successful as a marketing campaign. It did get attention. People were for a short time wandering around blurting out B words while eating their lunch at work, and sales of burgers at IHOP or IHOP quadrupled. Job well done. Well played. The beef marketing capitalized on by rivals was something to behold. A big chain can't just advertise a focus on burgers unopposed. White Castle tweeted that it would change its name to Pancake Castle. Burger King likewise with Pancake King. And Wendy's raised the game with the response of not really afraid of the burgers from a place that decided pancakes were too hard. After reading that one, I did release an audible chuckle, but later composed myself. All this burger business does pose the question, is IHOP more than just breakfast? Clearly IHOP is on the face of it, and has been for many years, when the menu was expanded to include lunch and dinner items. IHOP has breakfast pretty well covered, but seems insistent that you stay longer, even though the party is finished, like you're trying to edge slowly to the door while they're talking about making you a burger. The reality is that IHOP is known for breakfast, and the whole IHOP shenanigans isn't anything new. An LA Times article from 1986 highlights the same problem. Quote, IHOP has struggled for years to expand its lunch and dinner trade while maintaining its breakfast niche. End quote. Richard Kurzer, the company's chairman at the time, also said, people take the time for leisurely breakfasts during the weekends, and our traffic is fine then. During the week, too many don't think of us and go to McDonald's. So this is a long-term bind that IHOP has been struggling with, one that persists today. The non-breakfast menu is pretty much standard fare. You can't go far wrong with a burger at IHOP. It's that the company is a victim of its own breakfast success that is more the problem. That and very strong competition. There's also the McDonald's factor that plagues most in the industry. The McDonald's can seamlessly straddle the 24-hour restaurant market with apparent ease. Quite simply, IHOP has to sell more than breakfast in order to survive. McDonald's is of course a cheaper alternative, and the breakfast menu reflects this. But like Kurzer said in the 80s, the weekend isn't a problem, but during the week people will look for a cheaper, faster, and more convenient option, which makes IHOP not only a breakfast option, but a weekend breakfast option. This makes the market even smaller. IHOP is a more costly option, especially for a family. The demographic is also clearly a focus, attracting and keeping a younger crowd. IHOP, like many dining chains, have needed to look for new ways to attract customers post-2020, which saw the company lose around a third of its sales. Recently, IHOP has been promoting IHOP to go, a menu range that includes a new line of sandwich melts. You can order a roasted turkey, a pulled pork, a buffalo chicken, all melted and with the options of the usual sides. While IHOP has to do something in order to adapt and survive, I think this is probably a positive move. IHOP does have an advantage over fast food in that it is most likely perceived as a higher quality option to traditional fast food. Somewhere like Panera Bread would be the benchmark in that market. The to-go food now represents more than a quarter of IHOP sales. In order to roll out a new menu concept across the whole chain in such a short space of time, many of the items make use of current supply items that are based on known customer favorites. These do seem to be just various meats with melted cheese. With a new range of sandwich melts and more focus on food to go, IHOP might finally be known for more than just breakfast. While IHOP might mean many things to many people, some accurate, some wildly not, regardless of age or time, no matter whether making pancakes is too hard or not, IHOP or HiHop. It is just a name at the end of the day, or the beginning in this case. A dawn chorus of poured coffee and stacked pancakes, you know, but just in case you didn't get the memo, you can have lunch and dinner too. That's clear, I hope. All things IHOP, let me know. Thanks for watching.